I wanted to do a bit of a different video today, so I thought it'd be nice to do a flight review video of my spin training lesson, which I did earlier today. Now, to do the spin training, I couldn't actually do it in my beloved Cessna 172, so instead, I had to go in the slightly older Cessna 152. Now, I liken the 152 to an old slipper. Every time I slip into her, I feel very much at home, and I have quite a few hours on 152s from a couple of years ago. That said, compared to the 172, it's got a slightly higher nose attitude, which meant today I was flying it with a slightly lower nose attitude than I should have been, and I kept descending. Before the flight, my instructor Jonathan gave me a ground briefing and taught me a very clever mnemonic, which is PAR, or pair. But we don't say pair because it's not spelt like pear, spelt P-A-R-E. PAR stands for power, ailerons, rudder and elevator, and you move through that sequence to make sure that you're doing the right things with those controls. Now, these mnemonics really help me in flight. Others include Frida, Hazel, and my personal favourite, which is Bumfitch. Yes. I wouldn't say the weather conditions today were perfect for doing spins. There was an awful crosswind on the runway. It was something like 200 degrees at 16 knots, and I departed from runway 28. After departure, we then went north to Fleetwood, where we climbed up to a safe altitude to recover from the spins. This was about 4,500 feet. At first, we did a stall recovery with the flaps at 2 stages. This was really good at just getting me used to flying the aircraft at a slow speed, looking for the signs of an oncoming spin, perhaps a wing drop or even an incipient spin at some point. After that, Jonathan demonstrated a spin to me, and this is something I've never ever done before, so I was a little bit worried at first. That said, Jonathan was fantastic at demonstrating how the spin works, and really made sure before I did a spin myself that I understood what to look for and how exactly to recover the aircraft using the PAR or pair mnemonic. So here goes the spin. First, there are 3 parts to a spin. Number 1, the incipient spin. This is where the aircraft does an auto-rotation and then enters into the fully developed spin, which is number 2. Part 3 of the spin is the spin recovery, and that's where we use the PAR or pair mnemonic to make sure that we get the aircraft stabilised and we're not in a spin, flying towards the ground very quickly. So, Jonathan demonstrated his, it was time for me to climb back up and have a go myself. Spin number 1. First of all, car peak goes to hot. Power to just under 1500 RPM and maintain the altitude. Keep the ailerons neutral and keep pulling the control column back to maintain altitude. Then, just before the stall, we apply full left rudder. At this point, the spin starts to develop and we go through stage number 1, the incipient spin. We then move into stage number 2, which is the fully developed spin. And to maintain the spin, we keep the elevators fully back with a little bit of rudder pressed in. Now, you can keep spinning towards the ground for as long as you like to this point. However, on my first spin, Jonathan just let me do sort of one full auto-rotation. To recover, I made sure the power was at idle, the ailerons were neutral, I applied full right rudder, and then the elevator slightly past neutral. I didn't think my first spin went too bad at all, and Jonathan actually let me have a go at another one. Thanks, Jonathan. So after my third spin, we headed back to Blackpool Airport. Now, the wind was pretty much due south, and I think it must have been 20 or 30 knots, so it seemed to take like forever to get back to the airfield. I joined on quite a wide right base, and then also quite a dodgy final. The headwind felt really strong, and this must have been the strongest crosswind I've actually ever landed in. I remember getting down to about 400 or 300 feet and thinking in my head to Jonathan, do you want to have a little go at this landing yourself, sort of demonstrate it? However, he just said no, carry on, and I managed to get us down, no problem at all. Really felt like I had to kick a lot of right rudder, and I didn't manage to drift over the centre line either, which I was quite pleased with. I learnt an awful lot from this flight, and I feel a lot more confident now controlling the aircraft. It was also nice to fly the 152. It was almost a bit of a challenge, really, trying to remember the slight differences. Little things like seating position felt really different, and then the attitude as well, so I had to overcome that. Still, my next flight is my qualifying cross-country, which technically has been cancelled 6 times now, and if it's cancelled Sunday, that's 7. And then I booked next Wednesday as well, so that might be the 8th one. But let's hope it goes well. I've got my check flight done today anyway, and that's it. So really, I really hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Make sure you like it, and I'd really love for some of you to follow me on Facebook or on Twitter as well. The links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys soon.